During Hollywood's golden age, Westerns were more than just movies. They shaped culture. Every cowboy needed a trusty sidekick, and Gabby Hayes was the top choice. He teamed up with stars like Roy Rogers and Randolph Scott, sharing tough wisdom and catchy one-liners with his distinctive growl. Behind his beard and humor, Gabby held secrets he kept for years. Fans often wondered what really happened between Hayes and the quiet, reserved Randolph Scott. Why did their on-screen friendship suddenly end? Was there more going on behind the scenes? After many years of silence, Gabby Hayes finally decided to open up. His revelations surprised everyone. Back in that era, Westerns ruled the theaters and cowboy sidekicks became icons. Gabby Hayes stood out among many who played that role. Today, his name still appears high on lists of classic Western sidekicks, symbolizing the genre's golden days. Gabby Hayes was born George Francis Hayes on May 7, 1885. He was the third of 7 children in a large family led by Elizabeth and Clark Hayes. While he often said he was from Wellsville, New York, he was born close by in a small town called Stannards. It's in the western part of the state, not far from Pennsylvania. His father ran the Hayes Hotel and also dabbled in the oil industry, which was starting to grow in the area. George grew up with his brothers William, Morrison, and Clark, along with sisters Nellie and Hattie. Morrison served in the U.S. Army and was killed during World War I. George had a typical small-town childhood. He went to school in Stannards and showed big dreams early on. While still in high school, he played semi-pro baseball but wanted more. At 17, he left home to seek adventure. He began with a traveling theater company and then worked for a circus. Eventually, he found success in vaudeville. He was popular on stage, especially in comedy acts. He often played a clumsy character called the Rube Constable. His stage career lasted for many years. In 1914, George married Olive E. Ireland. Her father was a glass finisher. Olive didn't stay on the sidelines. She jumped into show business and performed with her husband under the name Dorothy Earle. To clear things up, she wasn't the same Dorothy Earle who was a writer and actress in films. By 1928, George had enough money to retire early. He and Olive bought a house in Baldwin, Long Island, thinking they could relax. But then the Great Depression hit, and George lost everything in the 1929 stock market crash. Their retirement plans vanished instantly. That's when Olive came up with a new idea. She advised George to try acting in films. Together, they moved west to Los Angeles. When Hayes arrived in Hollywood, the silent film era was nearly over. He started with small parts, bit roles, background characters, whatever he could find. At first, he didn't get big roles, but everything changed after he met producer T.M. Carr. Hayes's look caught Carr's eye, and soon Carr cast him in about 30 films over 6 years. In the beginning, Hayes played many kinds of characters, including villains. Sometimes he appeared as 2 different characters in one movie. Westerns became his true niche. These were the days of serial westerns, where the same faces and sidekicks kept returning. Hayes fit right in, even though he wasn't a cowboy off-camera. He didn't learn how to ride a horse until he was in his 40s. Off-set, Hayes was clean-cut, well-spoken, and carried himself with good manners. Oddly enough, he wasn't a fan of westerns. He thought they were repetitive, which many of those cowboy movies were. Fans loved him as the quick-witted sidekick. He was known for sayings like "Conset," "Yodern Tootin," "Dadgummit," "Dern Pnickety," "Female," and "Young Whippersnapper." Between 1935 and 1939, he played Wendy Halliday, Hop Along Cassidy's sharp-tongued sidekick. He quickly became a familiar face in Western movies. But in 1939, he left the role after a pay fight with Paramount. He didn't stay away long. That same year, he moved to Republic Pictures. The only problem was that Paramount still owned the name Wendy Halliday. So, Republic gave him a new name, Gabby Whitaker. He kept the same rough attitude and likable sidekick style. His first film as Gabby was Southwood Ho, Riding with Roy Rogers. That movie started a legendary run. From 1938 to 1943, Gabby Hayes and Roy Rogers starred in 41 movies. Their team is still one of the busiest in Western film history. Their chemistry made every scene lively. Gabby wasn't just comic relief. He played a key part in each film. He was sharp and wise, often guiding the hero toward the right path. Though he changed character names from one movie to another, his overall style stayed the same. He was grumpy but loyal, with a talent for saying just what needed to be said. Their partnership began with Under Western Stars and grew into a successful Western film series. Hits like Red River Valley, Sunset Serenade, and Man from Cheyenne kept coming. Audiences loved them and couldn't get enough. Roy was already becoming popular, but he credited Gabby for helping him grow as an actor. Roy brought charm and quiet confidence, while Gabby added color, warmth, and humor. Those qualities gave their films a special magic. Other duos from the same era existed. Gene Autry and Smiley Burnett added music to the cowboy stories. William Boyd's Hopalong Cassidy had a team of sidekicks, including Gabby Hayes, before his work with Rogers. Still, none were as consistent or emotionally powerful as the Rogers and Hayes team. They weren't just stars, they gave viewers comfort. Their movies felt like visiting old friends, especially during hard times. They reminded all that good always wins, no matter how tough things get. Hayes mainly played the dependable sidekick throughout his career. He partnered with many Western stars. One of his best collaborations was with Randolph Scott in 6 films, including their 1946 hit, Bad Man's Territory. That film wasn't subtle. It was a black-and-white Western packed with famous outlaws and outlaw gangs. Jesse James, Belle Starr, the Dalton Gang, Sam Bass, they all appeared. Scott played a strict Texas sheriff working to bring order to the wild border area, which was turning into part of Oklahoma. Director Tim Whelan made the story fast and lively. It jumped from gunfights to political scenes, full of Western cliches. The story started with the James Gang robbing a train in broad daylight. Sheriff Mark Rowley, played by Scott, was after them with his brother Johnny and another deputy, Mercer. Then came crooked Marshal Bill Hampton, who tried to steer the posse wrong. But they didn't fall for it. They kept chasing and caught outlaw lookout Kid Coyote, played by Hayes. Things got worse after that. Mercer was shot and killed by outlaw Hank McGee. When Johnny tried to take Kid Coyote back to town, Hampton almost murdered both of them. Suddenly, Jesse James stepped in to stop him. He took Johnny to the outlaw hideout of Quinto. Meanwhile, Hampton lied about Johnny, saying he was part of the James Gang. Sheriff Mark rode into bad country alone, trying to clear his brother's name. Along his way, he met Henriette Olcott, a determined English reporter played by Ann Richards. Romance grew naturally as she joined the effort to deliver justice to Quinto. She worked to rally citizens to support the creation of the new Oklahoma Territory. The story jumped from outlaw meetings to square dances, political gains, and horse races. It ended with the villains stealing a victory by making Hampton the law enforcer and turning the Rowley brothers into outlaws. Despite the chaotic plot, the movie did well at the box office, making over $500,000 in profit. It even got praise from Variety, which called it good entertainment for adults. Its success led producer Nat Hall and Randolph Scott to team up again for Trail Street in 1947. This Western also included real-life figures and shifted from silly charm to serious storytelling. Under Ray Enright's direction, the film followed Bat Masterson, played by Scott, as he arrived in liberal Kansas. He aimed to root out corruption and protect farmers from a ruthless cattle baron. The movie took on a more grown-up tone, but kept enough Western fun. Gabby Hayes returned as a deputy, bringing his humor to lighten the intense action. Robert Ryan, known for his villainous role in Crossfire, played a noble banker caught in a land dispute. Anne Jeff portrayed a conflicted dance hall girl with feelings for the villain, played by Steve Brody, who was also Ryan's rival for Meredith's affection. The story moved through land fights, false accusations, ambushes, and emotional struggles, with Masterson siding with the underdogs to restore order. In 1948, Return of the Bad Men, another film directed by Enright for RKO, was released. It brought back Scott, Ryan, Jeff, Hayes, and Brody as a lineup of Old West outlaws. The idea was to gather all the famous bad guys, whether they knew each other or not, and throw them at Scott. It should have been a big hit, but it didn't fully live up to the hype. Ryan played Sundance Kid with a sneaky edge. Jeff returned as Cheyenne, Wild Bill Doolin's niece, torn between loyalty and love. Hayes surprisingly played a bank president this time. The film tried to mix romance, political fights, and gunfights into one story. The characters lacked depth, and the love triangle was resolved quietly, not dramatically. The final Oklahoma land scene couldn't quite tie everything together. By the late 1940s, the Western film craze was fading. Tastes had changed, and fewer people wanted cowboy stories. Hayes decided to make one last film called The Caribou Trail in the 1950s. The movie wasn't just a typical Western brawl. It was a frontier story set in the North, in the wild Canadian countryside, instead of the usual dusty American towns. The lead star was Randolph Scott, one of Hollywood's most reliable actors. He was backed by familiar faces like Dale Robertson, Jim Davis, Bill Williams, and Gabby Hayes himself. Victor Jory played the villain, Frank Walsh, bringing his usual strong presence. Supporting actors like Douglas Kennedy and James Griffith helped fill out the cast. Karen Booth added charm and a little romance as Fran Cansey, the saloon owner. The story starts with Jim Redfern, played by Scott, dreaming of better things. He and his friends, Mike, Williams, and Ling Li Tung Fu, are driving cattle from Montana to British Columbia. They travel along the historic Caribou Trail. Their journey turns into a tough fight quickly. They try to cross a toll bridge run by the corrupt Frank Walsh without paying. Walsh's men stampede their herd, and chaos erupts. Mike loses an arm, and their cattle are gone. Their hopes are crushed. Jim, Ling, and a mountain man named Grizzly, Hayes, try to start fresh by looking for gold. Just when it looks like things are getting better, they are captured by native warriors. They escape, but not altogether. Jim survives alone in the wilderness until he finds a creek full of gold. With this find, he can start a new life. The others soon come back together. They join Grizzly's relatives, Martha and Jane, and a no-nonsense foreman named Will. They plan to build a new cattle ranch and drive a herd into the gold-filled valley Jim discovered. But their old enemies haven't forgotten them. Walsh and his men stay hidden, waiting to cause problems. Frank Hansey, the saloon owner, also has feelings for Jim. Walsh wants her too, which creates a love triangle. Tensions rise as new dangers threaten their plans. The Caribou Trail might not have aimed for awards, but it still offered good entertainment. At only 81 minutes, it includes enough plot twists, fights, and cattle drives to satisfy Western fans. Nat Hall directed the film, and 20th Century Fox handled its distribution. Visually, the film is mixed. Some scenes look stunning, especially the second unit shots filmed in Colorado. Most of the main actors, however, stayed in California. Indoor scenes took place on sound stages, while outdoor shots came from places like Bronson Canyon in Griffith Park, Los Angeles. If you've been there, you'll recognize the backdrop. Here's a fun fact about the tech. The film was shot on 2 strips of Cinecolor, but for many years, audiences only saw it in black and white. Everything changed when Kino Lorber restored it to its original color after over a year of work. Now you can see the Caribou Trail as it was meant to be seen. Dusty trails, sweeping valleys, and all. After finishing his role in this Western, Gabby Hayes did something many cowboys never do. He moved straight into American homes on TV. That's right. He made the jump from movies to television with the Gabby Hayes Show. This wasn't just any Western show. It first aired in 1950, but it wasn't called that at first. It was called the Quaker Oats Show because Gabby was paired with a box of breakfast oats. Imagine it, 1950. Kids gathered around their TV screens, eyes wide, as Gabby Hayes appeared in a small store in Quaker Canyon. He spent his time whittling and storytelling, mostly about cereals. In one famous moment, Gabby asked viewers to step back from the screen. Then he fired a cannon filled with cereal straight at it. This was a fun way to play on the Quaker Oats slogan, "Shot from guns." The show's name changed to The Gabby Hayes Show in 1951, but it kept the same charm. The show ran live, lasting half an hour. It was not just about yee-haws and funny moments. Each episode told stories about historical events. Writers Horton Foote and Jerome Cooperith created the scripts. The show was filmed live in NBC Studio 3A at Rockefeller Center. It was made on a small budget of about $5,500 per episode. By the end of 1950, even with tight budgets, people in 39 U.S. cities were watching Gabby Hayes tell stories about the Lewis and Clark expedition, Buffalo Bill as a boy, the Battle of the Alamo, and more. In December 1951, NBC started a new version of The Gabby Hayes Show. It was now a quick 15-minute show on weekdays. At first, it aired 3 times a week, but soon it became a daily show at 5:15 p.m. Gabby would share funny tall tales about his imaginary wild family. Between stories, scenes from old B-westerns would play. Since the show was short, they would stretch a single movie over a week. Just when viewers thought it was over, Gabby would come back with another funny tale. Early in 1952, the show featured new stars like Ross Martin as Wyatt Earp and Betty Gard as Belle Starr. But TV schedules are tricky. By January 27, 1952, the Sunday version was canceled. The weekday version kept going until January 1st, 1954. Even after that, Gabby didn't completely leave the screen. When Buffalo Bob Smith had a heart attack and had to step away from the Howdy Doody show, Gabby filled in for him. Gabby wasn't just an actor. He also ran a summer ranch camp for boys and girls in East JW, New York, called the Gabby Hayes Ranch. Gabby's fame went beyond TV. From the late 1940s to the 1950s, Charlton and Fawcett published a comic book series with his name. Even after retiring from TV, Gabby made appearances, especially on Howdy Doody, catching up with Buffalo Bob. Behind his gruff voice and beard, Gabby was a man who loved his wife. They were married for 43 years. She was his everything. Directors often gave him notes on his acting, but his wife's opinion mattered most. Sadly, she died on July 5, 1957. Gabby was heartbroken. They had no children, so her death hit him hard. After, Gabby lived on his Tuca Lake Ranch in California. Later, he moved into a small apartment he owned. As the years went by, his health got worse. In early 1969, he was taken to St. Joseph Hospital in Burbank for heart problems. A week later, on February 9, 1969, he died at age 83. Gabby was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Hollywood Hills.